I love skateboarding. Skateboarding is my life. It's helped me to overcome an obstacle to grow into who I am today. This is my story.
I've never seen it bother John, ever, never.
I was born in Dallas, Texas on January 19th, 1976. I'm a very proud Texan. I think most people from Texas are like that. I grew up in a suburb of Dallas called Garland. I got into trouble like any kid does, but for the most part, I don't think I was that bad.
John was in trouble a lot. I came home from work one day and he had been playing Karate Kid and he knocked a hole in the wall. And it was down low, about knee high. So he drew a picture and hung it over the hole. Of course, the first thing I said when I came home was, "Why is that picture down there?"
Growing up with my brother Rob, we had our ups and downs, but we usually had a pretty good time together.
When we were kids, we'd get into fights, and one fight, he went and grabbed an old knife, you know, like a kitchen knife. I hit him with a pillow, and he stuck the handle in his head and continued chasing me around the house until I stopped him and said, "You're bleeding from your head." He had blood running down, all down the side of his head.
He decided to see what would happen if he stuck a piece of paper in an electric heater. And of course the paper caught on fire and flew across the room and burned a hole in the carpet. And he just put a rug over it.
And I hate to say this, but he could actually throw up at will. And he would use that I don't know what it is. He would use that to get out of school sometimes. He would be sick. And other than that, you know, he was a good kid.
I was riding my big wheel back and forth across the alley behind my house with my brother, and this 14-year-old kid took his mom's car out for a joyride.
He got hit, and actually the guy hit him and rolled forward, ran him over, knocked him off the bike, and rolled forward. The kid in the passenger seat told the driver that they were on top of him, so he backed up and ran over him again. He actually almost sawed his leg in half with the tire. And the last time he stopped on top of him.
Rob came in the house and said that John was hurt.
Both of us went running to the alley
When I first saw John, he had his leg sticking up in the air.
Neighbors were lifting a station wagon off of John.
All I did was just lay down with him and stayed over his neck so he couldn't see it himself.
We fortunately had a paramedic in the neighborhood who was out working in his yard, and he came over and got the bleeding stopped.
I was so young that I don't really remember what was going on.
Like 2 or 3 of the neighborhood dads kind of lifted up on the front end of the car, and one other guy grabbed John's foot and his knee and pulled him out from underneath it.
He was, I guess, relatively calm after, I was there, and then he started worrying about the guy that was putting so much pressure on his leg. It said it was hurting.
The foot was totally separated from the leg, and basically from right below his knee down, it was just ground into the concrete.
But he had just the skin of the back of his shin, like right here. That was the only, everything else right in here was just gone, completely gone. I think the kid was only like 14 or 16 years old, didn't have a driver's license, parents' car, didn't have any insurance.
We were in Baylor for about 6 weeks after that.
I really don't remember anything about the accident. All I remember is waking up in the hospital.
John's leg was still growing on the inside, and the outside growth plate had been destroyed. And so this is not a medical explanation, it's a mother explanation. They were going to put an implant, a silastic implant, from the side of the leg that was growing and try to get the grow juice, for want of a better word, over to the other side so it would grow.
There was times when I could actually walk without anything, and then there was times where I was either in a cast or I was on crutches or I was in a wheelchair. Pretty much most of the time I wasn't able to just get up and run.
All the kids would like to come and see him, and his leg was growing crooked. His foot was going crooked on his leg. And all the kids thought that was pretty fascinating. Kept having to go back to the hospital and break it and straighten it, break it and straighten it.
It got to a point where his ankle had bent, and his foot was over here, and he was actually walking kind of on the side of his foot like this.
They would go in and they would take off all the tissue that had died in his leg, and they were trying to get it down to where it was just healthy tissue to see what they could do. It was back and forth pretty regularly for 3 years.
He went to the doctor so many times.
Yeah.
So she took him to the doctor, and that time she came out and said that they wanted to amputate.
We went in for just a regular checkup in March, the year he had just turned 7, and the doctor said that everything that could be done had been done, that John's leg wasn't going to grow properly, so the only thing left to do was amputate. And I was pretty much devastated.
When I was told they were going to cut my foot off, I wasn't very disappointed. I think the only thing that was going on in my mind was that I'd be able to run again.
When we got back in the car and I was taking him back to school, he was in the 2nd grade, he was singing, and I said, "John, do you understand what the doctor just told us?" And he said, "Yeah, Mom, they're going to cut off my leg, but I'm going to get a fake leg, and I'm going to be able to run as fast as I used to."
My name is Ron Stradiato. I'm an orthopedic surgeon, and I was going to explain a little bit about amputation, specifically a SIME type amputation. So a SIME, which is named after an English surgeon, disarticulates or takes the ankle joint apart, leaving the end of the tibia and cutting the fibula above the ankle joint, and then folding a flap of tissue up over to cover that end of the bone.
After hearing the doctor talk about it, they said that he would be able to get around a lot better because he didn't have that useless foot on the end of his leg.
Yeah.
And I thought maybe it might be the best thing for him.
He told my mom that, you know, once they do this, I'll be able to run real fast.
Every time he would go into surgery, he would say, after this surgery, will I be able to run as fast as I used to? He was real excited about it, and he pretty much kept that attitude up through the surgery.
He never seemed down or depressed, or
Never really got bummed
I don't
out.
remember him ever being really bummed out about it, no.
You know, Mom, when they cut off my leg, what are they going to do with it? And I was like, well, I'm sure the hospital or the doctors have a way that they dispose of things like that. And he goes, well, I was just worried about it being in the trash and the dog or cat coming along and getting it, so.
I think I remember going into the amputation being a little freaked out, but then when, you know, I woke up and I saw it, it was just, you know, there it is. At Scottish Rite Hospital, they would encourage me by showing me videos of other kids with prosthetics. I think once I had my amputation, I was just ready to go for it because they pretty much told me that I could do whatever I wanted to do, so I was ready to go do whatever I wanted to do.
So I opened the back gate, and there was John with the stump in a cast and on one leg jumping up and down on the neighbor's trampoline. And I said, John, what are you doing? And he just continued to jump. So nothing seemed to slow him down or stop him.
Once the amputation was healed, I was pretty excited. I was ready for a fake leg.
We needed to get him a prosthesis that he could run and play in and do various things. I don't think we ever figured exactly what he was going to do with it.
I first met John back in 1988. He was a pretty rambunctious kid at that time. When we casted John for the new prosthesis, we determined that it was better to go with this particular foot that I'm showing you right here. It's called a Carbon Copy 2 foot made by the Ohio Willowwood Company. And what makes this foot unique is it's got carbon plates that run through the inside of the foot, and that acts as a springboard or keel for push-off.
Then when he got his foot, he was just tickled to death. He could run and he could walk and he could stand in line.
He went on Halloween the first year that he lost his leg as an army man. So he's on crutches and he's got on these army fatigues, and we're walking down the mall and a man yelled, "Hey buddy, what happened to your leg?" And John just yelled back, "I got it shot off in Vietnam." So.
There was one time we went camping, and I remember we met these girls, and it was kind of dark outside, so they didn't know John had a fake leg, and we never said something, you know, we never thought to say anything. And I remember there were some swings or something, and me and John started swinging on a swing set, and he's like, tell the girl, he's like, "Hey, look over here, watch this." And as he was swinging up, he flew his leg off, and it went flying in the air. And it totally freaked the girls out, man, just completely.
My brother got me into skateboarding when I was 10.
Well, I started skateboarding in the 6th grade, and he was right there with me. Of course, he got all my hand-me-downs.
Oh, the boys built a ramp, terrifying looking ramp out there.
We had a ramp in the backyard and all that stuff, so we'd all be at the ramp every day pretty much.
We had a few skateboards go through the garage door. I've had holes in my garage door from skateboards flying out of control.
Early on, I remember him coming in, probably the memories the furthest back are of him coming in with this leg that had the hard plastic that was just fuzzed out because it had been scratched so much that, you know, there was no real plastic left. It was just fiber and, you know, pieces of shredded plastic hanging.
My doctors were super cool about me skating and stuff. I would really destroy my fake legs, and the doctors would just fix them and encourage me to go destroy them again.
He would bang up and tear up the prostheses, which is what we like. We don't like to see a good, healthy kid come into the clinic with a prosthesis that's all shiny and new. We like to see them banged up because that means they're out there being a kid with it. And John did a good job of banging up the prostheses.
He'd come in and, it'd be a crack in the leg or, something just be shredded to pieces. And it was a real challenge to try and figure out how to keep the leg going so he could get back to skating. So
he had his skating leg, and then he had his school leg. Because his mom would get really bent out of shape if he was skating in his school leg because he was always just shredded.
So I guess the first film we ever shot of John skateboarding was out here in this park where we are today. And he was showing us some things that we really couldn't believe.
It was fun to make the video for Scottish Rite. They would show it to other kids with prosthetics to encourage them.
When we first started, I remember he came over here and demonstrated it for us, and man, he was doing all these crazy things, riding that board off rails and jumping off concrete things. I thought, man, he's going to kill himself with this thing.
It's not really what I wanted him to do. I don't know what I wanted him to do, but I felt like it was kind of dangerous, but they wore pads and the proper safety gear, so it's something he really wanted. So we just forged ahead and watched him do it.
One of the things that the doctors were interested in seeing here was just, what all he was able to do. Some of the parents here who have children who are born with or have accidents, have an amputation, a leg, an arm or something, they're not real sure what their kid's going to be able to do later on in life. So Dr. Herring thought it'd be a terrific idea to be able to show some of these parents that, it's not the end of the world if a child does unfortunately have an accident or is born without a leg. But it really was an encouragement for the parents to see this demonstration of John's abilities. And so I think it served a great purpose. I think John was just one of those pioneers that was really involved in some cutting-edge things that have really led to this hospital being more open-minded about what our patients can do.
After a few years of progressing at skating, I realized that that's all I wanted to do.
Most of us had moved on and gotten cars and done whatever, and John had his little group and they would start doing it, and that's when he really got to where that's what he was going to do.
Yeah, it was every day whenever we could. It was something we just loved to do, so we did it every single day, anytime we could.
I met John Comer at the clown ramp. It was like one of the original ramps in Dallas. He was just some crazy little pit bull kid that tried to drop in.
I met him at Bachman Lake, which is pretty much was like a local skate spot. I think he's probably about 12, maybe a little bit younger. Yeah, he was a kid.
He was just really determined because he really, I guess with the leg, didn't have too much of the natural ability and just tried and tried and tried. So it was pretty crazy watching him progress.
He would just kept getting better and better and better. I wouldn't see him for a week or so, come back, and he'd have 5 or 10 new tricks, just pulling them out of the hat.
He would try anything and try to land it first time wholeheartedly.
He would take some of the nastiest slams you could imagine. Just bam, bam, get right back up. Just has the willingness to try it until he does it.
When he started entering contests, that's when we all knew. And the big difference there is he had a lot of support from my family on that. They knew that that's what he was going to do, and they were proud of the fact that he had overcome his losing his foot and everything to do that.
He entered all the contests, and I couldn't watch him skate. I could watch the other people, but I just sort of walked outside and listened to the crowd to see how John had done. He did really well all the time.
We got into high school, started getting in the partying scene, and I think John kind of stayed away from that and kept skating, and now we're all kind of jealous of him,
I first met John at the skate park in Dallas. There was a contest that I went to with one of my friends, and John was skating in it, and we were just kind of flirting with each other, being goofy.
One time we were walking by each other and she stuck her tongue out at me, which I thought was pretty funny. She seemed really cool, so I just wanted to talk to her and find out more about her, I guess.
A couple days later, he was driving me home from the skate park, and he asked me to be his girlfriend, and I said yeah, and so we were girlfriend, boyfriend.
We just really hit it off. We both just like to have fun and joke around with each other, and she always makes me feel like I can just be myself.
People would just look and like, what the hell is that? You know, what's wrong with that? What? They would just give really weird looks, and it really, really bugged me. And I would just get so aggravated at all these people just staring. I've never seen it bother John, ever, never.
I saw Jeff Phillips as a mentor to me. I mean, he gave me a lot of advice growing up.
I skate for fun, and that's it. And if I don't have fun, you'll see me quit.
And I looked up to him a lot. He's still, in my eyes, one of the most amazing people I've ever seen skate, and I've seen a lot of people skate.
Phillips as a skater was just the best back then. Like the first time I saw skating, I saw Craig Johnson, Jeff Phillips. And Jeff was just at his prime back then. Like he was going nuts, ballistic, and as a person, the same. Just such a good guy.
The first skateboard I ever had was a Jeff Phillips. Jeff was someone I always respected and looked up to because of his creative, you know, the way he skated vert was different than Hawk or Caballero. He had his own approach. It was the Texas approach, I guess. It was bigger, meaner.
As I got more into skating, I started to skate with the local pros in the area, and they encouraged me to get better, and that led to other opportunities.
Sure, he got progressively better because one, he was skating with, you know, Jeff Phillips and Billy Smith and Craig Johnson and, you know, Mike Crum, all the locals from Dallas who were, you know, kicking butt.
When Jeff Phillips Skate Park opened up in Dallas, it had his name on it, but I think I spent more time there than he did. I was definitely hooked.
Well, me and Jeff Phillips, we were both we were co-owners. He was my partner, and it was the Jeff Phillips Skate Park, and we weren't very good businessmen, but we had a skate park.
He kind of got in the scene with us, skating with us a lot, and then Jeff Phillips opened up a skate park, and he was a local there.
If we would bring him on Saturday and Sunday and after school on Friday, he would stay there as long as we let him.
And pretty much, you know, the guy was just, every time he went to the ramp, he was out there ripping.
I just got to know him skateboarding at the park, you know. The little freak with one leg, you know what I'm saying? Blew my mind, just the balls to even come there and skate in the first place. After getting to know John, I mean, it was not an issue with John at all.
My first sponsor was this company called 80X Clothing by my friend Anthony Armstrong. I was just super psyched because I got a free t-shirt.
And I remember seeing, you know, John at the skate park, you know, kind of, you know, just, at first he would walk around, I think he was too intimidated to skate. I had started a skate company, and John was like one of the kids that were on my teams. He kind of got better than everybody that he was skating with. Like, my team was a small team, and I really couldn't afford to, you know, do what the bigger companies did. But I felt like my company is sort of like a stepping stone to going to the next level.
But just that the guy was ripping, he always had a smile on his face, he was kind of quiet. So, you know, compared to the loudmouth little punks who always knew who we were going, sponsor us, that kind of helps us pick somebody out because it shows that this guy's got a little more determination. So I believe Jeff Newton and I got together, and Newton said, who owns Orlac, said, hey man, let's sponsor this dude. So we went out and said, hey, minor sponsorship, nothing major, but gave him some boards and stickers and tees, and said, so he started skating for Zorlak for a little while. If his ego gets to him and his head starts to explode, man, boom, he's gone, you know, he's out of there. But John stayed cool. John, you know, kept his same old mentality, same even flow.
Dallas skateboard expert John Comer has a simple goal. He wants to skate every day and get paid for it. But Comer has a good shot at it, even though he couldn't walk just a few years ago.
A lot of TV news stations and newspapers and stuff like to do the little one-legged wonder story about the crippled kid who turns it around for himself. I started to get recognized in skateboarding more, like in videos and magazines. Okay, hi, my name's John Comer, and I live in Dallas, Texas. I'm 18 years old. I was way more stoked on that because skateboarders recognizing me instead of just random people going, oh, look at the one-legged kid jumping around on a skateboard. growing up at the skate park, all my memories are from guys that I met there and stuff more than people that I met at school.
And I would go to the park once a week because I was living kind of far away at the time when I moved down to Texas. So I'd cruise out and go skate this mini ramp, and I'd always see this kid ripping it up on this mini ramp.
Jimmy Coleman was almost like an older brother to me. I mean, he was the guy that was always at the park that I really looked up to just because he seemed like he had a really good head on his shoulders.
I actually skated with him for probably a year before I even realized that he had one leg. I had no clue. He popped that thing off one day when he was sitting on the deck of the ramp, and it blew me away.
If he was wearing pants, you would not ever know that he has missing a leg or ankle. You wouldn't know. He never talks about it. He never complains about it. And I don't think personally I could do that.
John was amazing. Nah, he's cool. He was super mellow, and like what I noticed, right when I knew him, he was like one of the nicest people I'd ever met.
Anytime anybody came through, you know, whether it be Hawk, anybody, they knew him because he was the park local, you know what I'm saying? And he was the guy who was ripping it up above anybody else. It wasn't that, you know, he was the guy with one leg doing good. It was that guy shows up, he's doing, you know, he's the man. Oh, here's John.
I think one of the first times I met John Comer was at Phillips Skate Park in Dallas, and I saw him skating vert, and I thought I noticed that he had a prosthetic leg, but I wasn't sure. It's not like you view him and it's like, oh, look at this novelty. I mean, the guy is a really skilled skater, you know. He's doing kick flips and heel flips and things that take total ankle control. You know, stuff that the pros do that doesn't come easy to them, and he can do it, and he can't even move his foot, which is just incredible, but you don't even consider it. You know, you just see him and you're like, yeah, that guy's good.
Tony always treated me like a normal dude. I remember one time he came to Phillips and we were trying to learn tricks together and stuff, which is crazy, trying to learn tricks with Tony Hawk.
When we're skating, we're always adjusting our feet. You're always feeling where your foot is on the board and deciding how it should be for the next trick you want to do. And for him, obviously he can feel his one foot, but his other foot, he can't feel it, so he has to look down at it all the time, make sure it's in position. I mean, I can't imagine.
I mean, I don't know where skateboarding would be without Tony Hawk.
I wanted to sponsor him as amateur, and so I had him out to California for a couple weeks. He stayed over the holiday one time. You know, we just skate together, and like I said, not too many people were skating vert then, so it was good to have someone to skate vert with. I have a funny story about him snowboarding. He picked it up super fast, and I was in the chairlift behind him, and I could see him in the one foot that he had strapped in was his prosthetic, and his leg was starting to come off. And I see the other people on the chair actually grab his board for him, and I was just thinking, like, what was the conversation there? And then I asked him, and he said, "Excuse me, can you grab my leg? It's gonna fall off," you know. And then I realized it would have been even funnier if his leg had fallen off, and you just see the snowboard going down the hill with this leg attached to it. Like, all these people would be freaking out. It was really funny.
We went to a contest in Houston. It was my first event, my first real trip skating for PAL. We made the 4-hour drive or whatever it is from Houston up to Dallas, and we went to Phillips Park, and the place was run down and falling apart.
I got the news that Jeff Phillips had killed himself, and I didn't really know how close John was to him. I mean, I knew he skated at the park all the time, and I should have assumed.
Can't believe everything you see, so baby, close your eyes to the lullabies.
It was weird. I saw Jeff seriously on the day before Christmas Eve, 2 days before he killed himself, and I remember actually he seemed really out of it, and he actually called me John, which is ironic. I'm thinking I was Comer and got him, you know, because I guess his head was somewhere else.
I couldn't believe it when Jeff killed himself. He was really one of my heroes. I was having a great time out in California, you know, hanging out with Tony Hawk. At the same time, my whole life was caving in at home. I knew that, you know, when I got home, nothing was going to be the way it was before.
I think that me and John had some of the sickest sessions with Jeff Phillips before he died, or maybe some of the only sessions.
I think if Jeff were still around today, Jeff would definitely be impressed, and wherever Jeff's at right now, he's looking down and he's smiling on John and what he's accomplished. To
pass on Jeff's philosophy, I always tell kids to just skate for fun. I always have a Jeff Phillips sticker on my helmet to remind me of how much he's inspired me.
Why don't the newscasters cry when they read about people who die? At least they could be decent enough to put just a tear in their eye.
I got into the GT Bicycle Air Show Tour because of Jeff Phillips. I made a lot of great friends like John Parker back in those days. I miss those days, not so much because of those days, but because of those friends.
I met John Comer the summer of '95. The beginning of summer, we started a tour going around the country, hitting fairs and whatnot, special events with GT bicycles, and we took a half pipe, man, on the road for like 3 solid months, just doing fair shows for weeks at a time, and we formed a pretty good bond. I still think of that guy. Whenever I hear his name at the contest, I'm like, holy cow, I gotta go find him. You know, he's always saying, oh, I'm not much of a street skater and stuff, so we got him to ollie over this little banner, this little stringer, so people wouldn't walk into the show area. And I just remember him eating crap so many times, just ollieing over it. It was pretty funny.
I was making a little bit of money on the GT tour. Amy and I drove to Tampa for the Tampa Amateur Contest. We didn't know what was going to come next.
We got there and I was throwing up every day that we were there. And we drove home, and all the way home they had to pull over so I could puke. And then when we got home, we went and got a pregnancy test and it was positive.
When we found out Amy was pregnant, I was definitely scared.
He didn't tell his parents right away. He told his dad when I was like 6 months pregnant. He told his mom when I was probably like 3 or 4 months pregnant. He was just scared, I guess, to tell him.
I wanted to name him Austin, Texas, just because, I don't know, I'm psyched on being from Texas.
I think it was last minute we picked Gabriel.
When Gabe was first born, it was crazy just because I'd hardly ever been around babies before. I didn't know how to take care of a kid. I didn't even know how to change a diaper or anything.
We went to the Justice of the Peace, and he married us, and it was just me and John. But it was very, like, impersonal, you know, like, just married us and got it over with, and then gave us a bumper sticker and told us to vote for him because he was up for re-election.
What's your name?
Gabe.
Do you think it's cool that your dad's a skateboarder?
Yeah.
Do you like to watch him skate?
Yeah.
But I'm not going to cram it down his throat. If he wants to do it, I'm stoked. But if not, it's cool. He'll find something else that's what he wants to do.
Hopefully, I'll be able to talk John into at least one more kid because Gabriel really wants a brother or sister, and I would like to have another kid. So, yeah, we're going to have another kid. And John swears if we have another boy, it's going to be Austin, Texas. It's going to be the name. Crap.
First time I actually saw him was actually in a magazine interview. They did like a little article on up-and-coming amateurs, and I was like blown away because I was just flipping through the magazine and I'm just checking the stuff out. You start to read about this kid, John Comer, and then you realize that he has a prosthetic leg, and you're just like, oh my God, it's like this kid is just like going for it, doesn't care. So he came by the office and we just hooked him up, and from that day forth he was on Airwalk getting whatever he wanted. I was so stoked on the kid. It wasn't necessarily just because of, you know, that he was a kid overcoming a disability. He was just the raddest kid when you met him. He just like carefree, laughed about everything, had no worries, was just stoked on skateboarding and life in general, and nothing seemed to hold him back.
I forget who told me. Someone said that he was interested in skating for Powell and that he was a really good skater and that I should check him out. First time I saw John, I was actually doing a demonstration in Dallas. And I got to Dallas and I'm doing this demo and I see him sitting on the sidelines, and I could tell he was antsy to skate. And I said, hey man, why don't you skate with us, you know? And he got up on the ramp and made me look bad. I felt he was worthy of sponsorship. I felt he was worthy of, you know, being in advertisements, promoting skateboarding, being on tour, promoting skateboarding, you know? This guy has everything that it takes to become a professional skateboarder. And so we just started working towards that.
I just kept hearing this guy from Texas with one leg that is ripping hard, and he's going to be joining the team pretty soon. So I was really excited, and I really wanted to meet him and you know, see what he was all about.
John always, strongly in his heart, always felt that he would make skateboarding his career. Even in high school, like that's all he ever thought about. And just being with him year after year, skating at the skate park and seeing how quickly he progressed, I mean, it was just no doubt in my mind that he was ever going to be a pro.
I guess it's just his determination. I mean, he made up his mind that that's what he was going to do, and he went and did it.
He started telling us he was going to be pro when he was very young.
He told me from the time he was a kid, he said, I just knew. He said, I knew I was going to go pro. I don't know how, but I just knew it. When I was little, I knew I was going to be a pro skater.
Man, I always knew he was going to make it. He was so good. He was so much better. He was better than all the other amateurs around anywhere in Texas, so I just knew it. I could see it coming.
My dreams of turning pro had finally come true. There wasn't any big ceremony or anything. It was just, you know, straight into a pro contest, but I was super excited.
I always knew that Johnny was going to, you know, be pro and, you know, be a big name in skateboarding. That was never a doubt in my mind for a second.
It's what he wanted, and it's what he worked for all those years. He was very excited about it, and we were excited for him because it's what he wanted.
I think I built a really good relationship with everybody at PAL. I mean, these guys aren't just my team members. They're my friends, you know? They're all really fun.
Are you nervous?
No, I'm not nervous, really. I'm just tired.
You got your line down?
Yeah, I'm gonna go in there and mix it up a little bit. I got some new ideas.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, you're gonna change it up. Just gonna kind of step it up here in the semifinals.
Yeah, you know, I got some time-saving techniques that I'm gonna have, so I got time for a couple extra tricks there at the end.
So talking about, it's only a 45-second run. You got to get all those tricks in there.
Yeah, you know.
I think it was his first pro contest at Tampa in Florida, and he was just throwing down crazy run frontside, you know, heel flip frontside air, which, you know, just blowing people away. And he went up off the lower section up onto the extension and got a little bit off point. And as he came down the ramp, his balance shifted and he kind of flew off the ramp, but his foot caught onto the rope to help catch the board so it didn't fly into the audience, and it pulled off his prosthetic leg. And the spectators went like, oh, like started freaking out, like, oh my God, like the guy's leg got ripped up. Some people were like turning their heads, and he just got up, grabbed it, put it back on, and went onto ran up the ramp and finished his run. He waves off to the crowd and everything that with this smile that can never peel from his face ever. And it was just like, that was one of the most moving moments, I think, being around John, where people just recognize how amazing that kid really is.
And we're doing this summer tour across the United States on the mini ramp, but I like the fact that he was just willing to jump on the tour and get out on the road and go meet all these kids. So that was like, I probably didn't meet John for like a month and a half after tour was over. It was just his voice on the phone, and I would see video footage coming back to me and going, well, that's what this guy looks like. And then when I met John, he was exactly how he was, you know what I mean? He was just super personable, super funny.
It's just amazing to be on tour with him and to see his personality and his whole outlook on life. It's just so positive, and it shows through his skating. You know, it shows how dedicated he is to the sport, and you know, it kind of makes us really think in reality, like, you know, the things that happen to us, and then they're really not that big of a deal when you look at John Comer.
Being on tour with John is a lot of fun. He's a really kind of happy-go-lucky guy, you know. So he's a really good personality to have on tour when things sort of get monotonous and people get edgy or whatever. So he's always there to lighten it up. And we were doing a demo, parking lot demo on the mini ramp.
John was like skating the ramp, and he did a trick and kind of bailed.
And as he was running backwards down the transition of the ramp, he bailed.
I heard this big snap. His foot, his prosthetic leg, had broke.
His foot snapped. It was like the loudest, just snapping sound. He keeps trying to skate on this little peg of a foot. He looks like Captain Hook out there on a peg leg skating, right?
he had Pete, one of the drivers, kind of fix his foot.
They're drilling holes, putting on makeshift brackets, trying to piece this like $10,000 prosthetic back with like aluminum hardware, you know?
It was kind of funny just because, like, you know, he's all, man, dude, I gotta call my sponsor and get a new foot, you know? So that was actually kind of funny to think that John's got not only a shoe sponsor, but a foot sponsor as well.
I don't know, I remember the first time I met him was like 5 years ago, and I used to make this little skateboard magazine in San Jose, and he was coming through there with the team, and I did an interview with him for the magazine, and right off the bat he was just a super nice guy. You know, I felt like we had been friends for a while. Like that day that I met him, we shot all these photos for this little interview, and I was like, hey, you know, can you do any tricks where like your leg comes off, you know? Well, let's pretend that you can like do a kickflip and your leg comes off in the air and then you land on your stump. And he was like, all right. So he was like totally game for that. So we shot like this fake sequence of it, and you know, we like timed it out so it looked like it was real, and put it in the magazine thinking that people would see that it was fake. All the people that saw it totally thought it was real. And to this day, he still gets, you know, kids at demos and stuff are like, do the kickflip your leg off thing, you know, we want to see that.
People say I slam pretty hard, and I think they're right.
Being proud of how hard he slammed, it's like, dude, I slammed. You know?
I just remember him being just this maniac kid who was very, very determined, who just slammed a lot, used to scare the hell out of all of us.
But I guess the main funny thing about him is when he started getting really good, he was kind of known for slamming, you know.
You know, I used to have the title of slamming the most at the shows, but once he was there, people stopped giving me crap, that's for sure. He crushed quite a bit, actually.
And I got this call down at the base that, you know, he'd fallen and hit pretty hard and was down in the clinic with a concussion.
I knocked myself out, I had a big scab on my face.
Deep breaths, John. Concentrate.
Did both my shoulders.
You alright?
Yeah.
I heard some cracking.
That wasn't just my leg hitting the ground, I think.
As the years went on, as the years progressed, and I'd be around events and I'd see John, his level of skating would just go up all the time. You know, I remember seeing him and I was like, wow, that guy's pretty good. And then I'd see him and be like, wow, that guy is really good. And then I'd see him and I'd be like, wow, that dude's better than me.
He's just been a ball of energy to it, where you look at a lot of pros and amateurs that get on teams and, you know, they come and go. That's just how the cycle is in the industry, you know. And John was always about just being a loyal individual to the sponsors that he has and working really hard to promote those brands.
John's willing to like kind of do anything and do everything, and I think that's the beauty of John. He's not just like letting this disability hold him down, and he's not allowing his disability to pigeonhole him. He's just taking life on, and he's just saying, you know what, here's life. I'm gonna like do all I can in this life, and he's really appreciated those things.
He's not bitter about what's happened to him in his life. He's not upset, he's not angry, he's not mad. He's just like, I very rarely see John get mad about anything, you know? And it's just when he gets on the ramp, he skates, he gets right to business, and I just think it's amazing how, you know, when something's taken from you in your life, you know, a limb, I guess you find ways to adapt to become what you want to become, but his story is pretty amazing.
John Comer is basically in a category of his own as far as skateboarding goes in the scene, and there's no other person like John Comer.
I do slam quite a bit, but I still manage to make a few things here and there. I don't try to inspire people, but it feels great to hear about people who've been inspired by my story.
My two favorite heroes are John Comer and Superman, and in this essay you'll find out how they are alike and different. My name is Mike Anderson. I've been skating for about 5 or 6 years. I'm 12 years old.
What happened with Michael was when he was about 6 years old, he developed tumors on his foot, his left foot.
Right when I got the cast off, I got another one.
The tumors grew back, they were more aggressive. So we had to take him to the Children's Hospital in Los Angeles and have a pretty huge part of his foot removed.
They took out about 1/3 of my foot out.
He had just started skateboarding not too long before that, and he already had big dreams to become a pro skater.
I saw a video, and I saw John Comer's part, and I saw that he had a fake leg, and how he had put it on and off, and it just inspired me to go skating.
He decided that if John could skate with one leg, he could skate with part of a foot. About a year and a half later, I saw John at the Warp Tour in Ventura at Skate Street. And because of what he did for Michael, I think I scared him, because I went up to him nearly in tears and hugged him and thanked him for what he did and explained briefly what he did for Michael.
They are both admired by many people. They are one of the best at what they do. I hope you enjoyed reading about how John Comer and Superman are alike and not alike. You have also learned about my two favorite heroes.
The fact that he can progress at skateboarding just as normal as anybody else, and you know, with the handicap that he has. So it's a really good motivation and inspiration for skaters all over the world.
I don't think I really realized how talented John was until I saw him live, you know, and I realized how much of an inspiration he could be to people.
And he's just living proof that, like, you know, you're born in a situation, things happen to you in your life, and you make the best of it, and you still overcome it, you know, and that's, to me, that's really motivating. Those are the special things in life that mean the most.
God, man, what an obstacle to overcome, and it doesn't even bother him. He doesn't even know it.
Being able to reflect now on John's life and what he's overcome just makes me think, you know what, man? You know what? I need to see more of John Comer, and I hope that I do.
For me, he was always he always got the batteries recharged. You know, it's like I skated with him, I see him, and I get inspired.
He's very modest, and he doesn't have an ego at all when it comes to what he does in skateboarding.
It's important for John to get his message out there. You know, this being part of now getting your message out there. You know that, I mean, he must be a hell of an inspiration for other kids in his situation. You know.
I even have kids that find out that I'm his father that will, you know, think that's pretty fascinating.
People that don't have disabilities, John's story helps to inspire them also.
I still see him skateboarding and having a good time and being an inspiration to everybody he comes across, period. I think he's going to continue to be a strong force in the world of skateboarding for many, many years to come.
And I'm glad that someone out there has taken it upon themselves to tell his story, because I think that John Comer is an inspiration to everyone that rides a skateboard.
Well, I think John has shown that skateboarding knows no limits, and that all kinds of people are welcome, and that you can overcome great odds.
I don't know if I think what I've done in my life is amazing. Because to me, it's just my life. I'm not like trying to impress anybody. I'm just skating and having fun. I'd like to dedicate this to my wife, Amy, and my son, Gabe, just because Amy has never stopped believing in me. She's believed in me more than anyone else. And Gabe has been my inspiration since the day he was born.
How long you been skating?
10 years.
Oh yeah, when'd you start?
I don't know, 10 years ago.
Okay, good job.
Hi, I'm John. I have a fake leg.
What do you see in the future for John Comer?
Well, going to Australia, gonna do the Hawaiian Internationals, and me and Mick are gonna wing on over to London and jam with the Stones. You guys are invited too.
The one-legged wonder rocks.
Comer rules, man. That's all there is to it. You know, there's homeboys coming at ya. My dog's gonna get ya.
He could walk right up and he could punch me in the face, and I'd laugh and I'd probably pat him on the back and hug him. Thank you, John, for the inspiration through the years.
He's a pretty special little guy. Big guy, I guess.
Man, just a phenomenal character, a mountain of a man, you know? There's not very many like Comer. They broke the mold when they made that dude.
Fat little one-legged man. I don't think that guy could go out of his way and try to be mean to someone.
We were at the Six Flags. He was like, I think John mentioned, like, dude, I'm handicapped. You know, and of course, if you're handicapped, you get to skip all these hundreds of people waiting for hours and hours to ride these rides.
Off the record, I want him to lose a little weight. No, I'm just kidding.
What did the mayonnaise say to the refrigerator?
What?
Close the door, I'm dressing.
John, I'm glad you asked me to go have pizza with you. Oh no.
Yeah, I thought the girl was supposed to gain the pounds, not the guy, but it looks like a little opposite in this one.
So what he did was he turned it backwards. So he had one foot pointing north and one foot pointing south. And he was skating on the ramps like that. It was just like, it blew me away. Everyone, it just cracked us all up to see that.
He got up in our room, and like we had a sliding glass door, and he stood up in front of the sliding glass door and started peeing. And it woke me up because I heard the pee hitting the carpet.
You got tenacity and heart. So that's what you pass on to the people that take notice of what you're doing.
Because he's an important person in skateboarding. He deserves to be seen. He should be anywhere that something is happening in skateboarding. John should be a participant in that.
Hell no. John Comer does not get the recognition he deserves.
Thanks for putting so much effort into skating and being such an inspiration to people.